Hey, room 4. All right, we're on chapter 5 in our Punished book by David Labar. So, as a little bit of a review, our friend Logan was caught in the library and he's been punished by a man with some magical dust. And now he is talking in puns because he was running in the library. And even though he said sorry, the man said, Professor Wordsworth is the man's name. Sometimes words aren't enough. It means you have to be punished. And so his punishment is talking in puns. So remember, a pun is a play on words, and they're words that sound like another word, and people are kind of groaning over Logan's puns. He always says some punny things, some funny things. And now he ran back to the library to find this man, discovered his name is Robert Wordsworth. And now we know that Logan's full name is Logan Quester, and Logan's on a quest. He's on an adventure. He has to do 3 different things to make his punishment go away. We know that number 3 is a magic number in children's literature. And the first quest, the first adventure that he has to go do is he has to find 7 oxymorons. And remember, 7 is a magic number in children's literature also. And he's like, what's an oxymoron? And Professor Wordsworth said, figure it out. And he looked it up in a dictionary in the reference section of the library. So we discovered that an oxymoron is a phrase that has opposite meanings. And he just found his first one, jumbo, which means big, and shrimp, that means little. And he went to the grocery store and found that one. So now he has to find 6 more. Remember, he has a magic camera, and that camera only takes pictures of oxymorons. So let's see if he can find 6 more oxymorons. Page 43, chapter 5, Opposites Attract. As I walked away from the fish department, I wondered if I'd find any other oxymorons in the supermarket. Dozens of foods flashed through my mind. Cold hot dogs, I said as the idea hit me. I ran to the cooler where they had all the packaged meats and tried to take a picture of a pack of Franks. Now, Franks is another word that people call hot dogs. No click. The camera did not work. I started, turn the page, to get worried, but then I realized the problem. Cold was the opposite of the word hot, but it was not the opposite of hot dogs. So while cold hot dogs might be a strange phrase, it was not an oxymoron. As I wandered down the next aisle, I tried to think of words I'd find in the supermarket. Fresh was one. They used that a lot. Fresh, sour, cream. Fresh is the opposite of sour, I said out loud, but that wasn't any better than cold, hot dogs. When I reached the ice cream, I watched a guy open the door, stare inside for a moment, then close it. That gave me a great idea. The inside of the door was frosty. I went over and I wrote it with my finger. True lies. That was an oxymoron. Something that's truth is the opposite of lies. Feeling proud of my cleverness, I raised the camera. No click. I guess that was cheating. I had to find the oxymoron out in the world. I couldn't just make them myself. So he just tried to write it and take a picture. Even though true lies is an oxymoron, the camera wouldn't do it because he cheated. He wrote it. Then, as I scanned the rest of the aisles, I saw a display of paper plates, and stacked up right next to it, glasses made of plastic. Plastic glasses, I said, testing the feel of the oxymoron as I spoke it out loud. It felt right. Plastic is the opposite of glass. As I raised the camera, I was pretty sure it would work. Click. Thank goodness. That made 2. So he's got 2 oxymorons now. I found the 3rd oxymoron without even looking for it. I was walking past the area where the store sold cooked food. It was like a small cafeteria right next to the deli section. The deli section is where you can get sliced cheese and meats. I, turn the page, spotted 2 big soup pots. One held clam chowder, which I don't like at all. The other had chili. The sign above it read, red, hot, chili. It almost didn't sink in at first. Then I got to thinking, chili sounds just like chili, which means cold. Oh, red hot means super hot. Chili sounds like the other word chilly, which means cold. Is that a homophone or a homograph? Sounds alike, spelled different, means something different. What is that? I know you know. Click. It looked like an oxymoron could contain a pun. The important thing was that I already had almost half of what I needed. I figured the rest would be easy. After cruising all the aisles several times without finding anything else, I decided to hunt around town for the other 4. I could always come back to the market later. On the way out, I ran into Benedict. "Hey, what are you doing with that?" he asked, pointing to the camera, top of page 47. When someone lends you a camera, you have to snap up the offer, I said. He's making puns again. "Logan, this is getting ridiculous," said Benedict. "Sorry, wait, I'll give you a quick explanation." He meant a quick exclamation. Maybe Benedict could help me. I told him what an oxymoron was and told him I needed to find 4 more of them for a project I was working on. I did not say anything about the professor or about being punished. I didn't think he'd believe that part. The whole time I talked, the puns kept coming, but Benedict seemed to understand what I needed. "I know," he said. "Don't try to think up the whole thing at once. First, you just need to think," turn the page, top of page 48. "Think of words that describe stuff," he said. "Yeah, adjectives." Remember, an adjective describes a noun, like I have a blue jacket on, or a gray shirt. Gray describes my shirt. "Yeah, adjectives," I told him, remembering what I'd learned in language arts. I had to admit, Benedict's idea was a good one. If I started with the right first word, it might make it easier to come up with a whole oxymoron. Benedict was pretty smart sometimes, even if he did think football was better than baseball. Benedict nodded. "I know some, like large, small, tiny, sharp, light. Those are all adjective words." "Hey, light, that's a bright idea," I said. I realized light meant 2 things. It meant bright, like a bright light, but it also meant not heavy when something's light. Maybe we could find an oxymoron using light. "I know just where to look," Benedict said, snapping his fingers, and he ran off. I followed him down the street to the lamp store, top of page 49. "Good thinking," I said. "What a delightful idea." He meant what a delightful idea. Benedict groaned. "You'll have to go into the lamp shop by yourself," he said. "Why?" I asked. "Well, the last time I was in there, they told me not to come back." I wonder why. I pushed the door open. "Be careful," Benedict said. "Most of the stuff they sell breaks real easily." I walked inside, staying right in the middle of the aisles. As far as possible from the glass, I saw dozens of lamps with all sorts of different shades. A shade is what goes on top of the light bulb on a lamp. I looked for dim lights or dull lights, but no oxymorons leaped out at me. I didn't even see anything that could be a heavy light. I was about to give up when I realized I'd, turn the page, top of page 50, I've been staring at an answer the whole time. Light, shade, I shouted. Since a shade blocks light, I figured light was the opposite of shade. I raised the camera and pointed it at a wall of different kinds of lampshades. Click. 4 down. I wondered how many other oxymorons I had missed. The lamp shop was a bright suggestion, I told Benedict when I got back. He groaned, then said, hey, let's try the hardware store. They have tons of stuff. So a hardware store is like Home Depot or Lowe's, where they have tools and things people need to build things. Great, let's lumber. Lumber can mean walk slowly, or lumber can be wood. Let's lumber over there and see if we can nail down a couple oxymorons, I said. Benedict let out a groan that was loud enough to be a scream. He shuddered and shook his head, but he did not run away. We went down the block to the hardware store and started looking around. One section was filled with all sorts of stuff for hanging things on walls, and there it was, a package labeled straight hooks. That will make 5, I thought. I raised the camera. Click. So a straight hook is like your hooks on your desks in room 4. Now that little straight knob that you hang your backpack on, that's a hook. And hooks are usually curved, but your hook for your backpack is a straight hook. So it's a hook, but it's straight. So it's the opposite. Straight is the opposite of a hook that's usually curved. That's a good oxymoron. Now I only needed 2 more. Benedict and I searched the rest of the hardware store and then ran around town until dinner time, but we did not find anything else. Well, I'll see you in school, he said when we arrived at his house. Lesson I see you first. He means unless I see you first. I waved and headed home. That evening, I couldn't believe how many oxymorons I heard. They seemed to pop, turn the page, up everywhere. Of course, I'd never known about them before, but the ones I heard at home weren't the kinds I could take pictures of. Careful, Mom and Dad, when he was wrapping up some meat to put away. If you don't seal it tightly, it will get freezer burn. Freezer burn, I thought. Unfortunately, everything in the freezer was wrapped up, so there wasn't any freezer burn to photograph. Now, freezer burn is when something's in the freezer too long, like ice cream, and if you open the ice cream, there's like these little crystals all over it. It means that's freezer burn. It means it's not good anymore. Freezer is something that's frozen. Burn is when something's too hot. So frozen and hot are opposites, so that's an oxymoron. There was an ad on the TV for a radio station that played soft rock. That's a type of music that's rock and roll, but it's not really loud. Then Dad talked about a boxer he knew who was a light heavyweight. Light is the opposite of heavy. Oxymorons were everywhere, but I still needed 2 more. After dinner, I searched all around the house for oxymorons. I even opened our dictionary, top of page 53, and tried to take a picture of the samples they had under the definition. No luck. That was cheating. He has to find it. In the middle of all this searching, Kaylee came up to me with a book in her hand. "Read me a story?" she asked. She loved books and she loved drawing pictures, so she especially loved picture books. Now remember, Kaylee is Logan's little sister. Sure, I figured that would be safe. Besides, I was ready for a break. I sat on the couch with her, opened the book, and started reading. Puns upon a dime, dear were tree litter pegs. Oh boy, none of this was coming out right. Oh, but Kaylee giggled and snuggled up next to me. Oh, don't stop. I like the way you read it. So I read her the rest of the book and then returned to my oxymoron hunt. I searched, turn the page, until it was time for bed, but I did not have any luck. When I went back to my room, I tried to find out how bad my punishment really was. From what I'd seen or heard so far, I knew I could say a really short sentence without making a pun. I closed the door and then said, "Hello." No pun. Okay, so I could say one word. I tried two. Thank you. That worked. I am Logan. 3 words, I said. So far, so good. It doesn't always happen. He meant to say it doesn't always happen. I said, shoot. It looked like 3 was as high as I could go. There's that magic number again. I tried again just to make sure that 4 was my limit. 1, 2, 3, floor. Ah, it looked like that was it. I got into bed and went back to thinking up oxymorons. As I lay with my eyes closed and my head on the pillow, top of page 55, I felt as if I were trying to fall asleep inside a dictionary. I'm in big trouble, I thought, but that was nothing new. New, I said as I sat up in bed. That word gave me an idea. I rushed to the garage. We had a ton of newspapers stacked up against the back wall for recycling. You could call them, the old newspapers, old news. It's old newspapers. So new is the opposite of old. Old is the opposite of new. So the old newspapers were old news that had happened. Click! Just one more, but I was totally out of ideas. Just as I went to sleep, I realized I wasn't just out of ideas. I was also in running out of time. If I did not find my 7th oxymoron by the end of the school day, I'd be punished forever. Yikes. Okay, we're going to stop there. Okay, so he's on a quest. He has to find one more oxymoron. I'm sure he'll find it in chapter 7. Don't you think so? So an oxymoron is a phrase that has opposite meanings. So he found some, like plastic glasses. The glasses we use and then we throw them away because they're made out of plastic. We use them at parties. That's an oxymoron. It's opposite. He also found, and uh-oh, my board got erased. I'm so sorry. Lucky for me, I got my pen. Red hot, that means really hot. And then the word chili, which is a soup, red hot chili. Chili can also mean cold, C-H-I-L-L-Y. That's a homophone, yeah. So he also found a light shade, and a light shade is the top of your lamp that hides the light bulb. Light means like sunshiny. Shade is when it's blocked. We know that, a shadow, right? So light shade is an oxymoron. And old news, that was his 6th oxymoron he found. Something that's old isn't new. So old news, he found some old newspapers, old news. So he found some good oxymorons today. I also like the straight hook. That reminds me of our classroom so much, where you put your backpacks. Yeah, that's an oxymoron. Well, I miss you guys. I'm really proud of you. Keep up the good work. Now, after chapter 5, I want you to do pages 11 and 12. There's some questions about this chapter. Do it on a separate piece of paper and then submit it for me so I can see that you're reading along with me and answering questions. And I'll be back for the next chapter. Have a great day, friends. Bye.